1.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first Cooking with Carolyn in 2021. If you've joined us before, thank you for your continued support. If this is your first time, you're really in for a great treat. We have behind the camera, Carol Griffin. Woo! She will be having tons of great questions for you throughout the class and also giving you some close-ups of the cooking preparation. And I'm here in my own home, so if you see a dog running through the camera, that is Luce. He is my sous chef. But for tonight, we will be cooking a big and balsamic bone-in pork chop. That is going to be paired with some roasted broccoli rabe and some rosemary fingerling potatoes. So if you have a kit, let's break it out now and let's go over all of the ingredients. Okay, I have my little station set up here. Okay. And I should grab my pork chops, put them away. So the first thing in our cooking kit, can you see me?
Preheat oven.
Okay. So the first thing in our cooking kit that we have, let me move that out of the way, is our bone-in pork chops. These ones, they come from the Wells Meat Company, but they get them from a local farm in Pennsylvania that has been around for 125 years. It's a Leidy farm out of right outside of Hamburg, Pennsylvania. So they have really quality products. They've been known, and with that many years in business, they're going to give a great product. So those are our pork chops that we have in your kit tonight. Also in your kit, you have some fingerling potatoes. We have tricolored fingerling potatoes. We have broccoli rabe, which is similar to a broccolini or broccoli. It's in the same family, but this one will grow a smaller head to it, has more leafy greens, has a little bit more of a bitter taste to it, and used a lot in Mediterranean cooking. So it's going to go very well with our Italian dish tonight. You also have shallots in there. If you have a really big one, you have one, or if you have two medium-sized ones, I have two in there. You have a container of balsamic, some chicken stock, and then the really delicious big jam. So that is what came in your kit. And then from your own home, what you want to have, or if you have prepared already, I have butter here, of course, salt and pepper you need for everything. And then for me, I have a blended oil, like a blended olive oil that I'm going to be cooking with, and then an extra virgin that I'm going to put in the sauce. And then for your utensils, we have 2 large cooking trays. You can have a smaller one. I just have 2 large ones. I have one here, one here. I have a rack for my pork chops. I also have a mixing bowl. I have a large one, but if you have a little bit of smaller one, as long as it fits your broccoli rabe, and then a large saute pan. Yeah, for this recipe for the pork chops, we're going to use a large saute pan instead of cast iron because we're going to make a pan sauce in there after we sear our pork chops. Okay. So the first thing, now that we have all of our ingredients in place and we have all of our utensils, really important, we have to preheat the oven. So I'm going to go do that right now. Okay. Okay, so after our oven is preheated, I need to give you some recipe tips. The first one I can say is always read your recipe before you start, just to double check you have the ingredients and the utensils and even the sheet pans, all that stuff, because if all your mise en place, as us call it in the kitchen, is in place, then the cooking process will be very easy. If you're missing something, it's a great time to just, go out and get it before you get started, or you get the fun of improvising and just making it your own. So for this recipe as well, the biggest takeaway I want everybody to get is pork does not have to be cooked well done. I know that before, maybe I believe it was in the 70s, there was a big, trichinosis scare where that was coming through pork, and everybody, growing up probably had well done pork. Well, the pork industry since then has made really big changes, from the cleanliness to the FDA regulations that they have in place. So it is very clean. You can cook a pork chop medium rare, if you like medium rare, or medium, any temperature like that. So we'll go through that when we cook this pork chop, but you do not have to cook a pork well done unless you're making like a braising portion, then that you want well done and stewed for a long time, because it will just get so stringy and great. But for this one, we are going to cook our beautiful pork chops medium. Okay, so next thing that we're going to work on, or does anybody have any questions? I'm sorry. Does anybody have any questions on pork or your ingredients, or if you're missing anything? Nope, nothing? Okay, great. And if you have comments or questions, you can put them right in the box, and then they're going to go through Carol. She can ask me at any time. If you need me to slow down, speed up, anything, just put them right there in the questions, and then we'll go through them. Carol is our behind the scenes production. So
we did have someone say, can we get any advice? I'm not too sure. Advice for cooking the pork chop, or just, I'm not too sure what advice is needed, but maybe it was a joke.
So before this, what I did was I washed all the vegetables. So whenever you get vegetables or even like chicken in your house, you want to make sure that you wash the produce, only because, you know, people are touching it, or it's, you know, you don't know what's on it. So you want to just give it a rinse really, really fast. So that is what I did earlier. But now we're going to work on our knife skills.
So
yes.
Does pork have a certain smell that it's supposed to have? Is there sometimes pork smells might?
Oh, yes. So because we have a bone-in, that's a great question. Because we have a bone-in pork chop in the package, and it is cryovac, that bone is going to have more of a, and that pork is going to have a little bit more of a not strong odor, but once you open that thing, it's like when you have something sealed and you take the lid off, or like a bottle of wine, you know, it's going to have a smell that comes off of it. I can tell you that these pork chops we got in Saturday morning, and they're awesome. They're great pork chops, but it's with a bone, and when you wrap it like that, it will have a little bit of you know, that bone will smell.
And what oven temp did you put your oven on again?
I put the oven on, thank you, Carol, but I put the oven on at 400 degrees.
And your baking sheet, if people have stone baking sheets, is that okay?
I would suggest if you have like a cookie sheet, that will work a little better, because when you put the fingerling potatoes on it and the broccoli raw, it will kind of keep them in. But if you want to try it with the stone and you only have a stone, then that should work too. But your baking cookie sheets are the best. So next we're going to get started on our knife skills. First thing we're going to do is
the pork chops should be taken out of the refrigerator. Yes.
Yes. The pork chops out of the refrigerator, definitely. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our shallots. We're going to work on that. I took a little bit of the outside off of these ones. If you have some coming out, you can take the outside off.
Okay. If they don't have a rack for the pork chops, is there something else that, just a cookie sheet?
Yep, that is perfectly fine. If you don't have a rack, you can do it without the rack. I just have one because I cook a lot of roast at home. So the first thing I'm going to do with my shallot is I'm going to cut it right in half. And this is a technique that you use for an onion as well. And it kind of just makes a really nice grid. If you've been a part of our cooking classes before, you should be a professional at this point. But what I'm doing is I'm going in, and I have a very sharp knife. So I'm going in, I did 4 layers, and then I'm going to turn it over on its side, and then I'm going to go down. So I'm making pretty much a little grid. So you have a nice layer. Now what I'm going to do is I turned it back on its side, and then I'm going to take the knife and go right in, so I have every little piece will be the same. And if you can see, I have my fingers up against the knife blade and my thumb is tucked. So that's really important, so you don't cut off your thumb. And then I'm using my fingers as the guide. So you can see there, they're really nice. They're all even. And you're not mincing it as much, you know, going back and forth and releasing those gases and crying. So we're going to do that again. We're going to slow it down. Okay, so I'm going to go in again, turn it, make my lines. Okay, now I'm going to turn it again, and then I'm going to go down.
Carolyn, if they just have one big shallot, they can just do the same thing with the big shallot and then.
Oh yeah, yes, definitely. And it's actually a little easier on a bigger shallot. So you're going to cut it right in half, like if it was an onion, and do the same thing. So we'll do it again. Ooh, this one's making me tear up, that's for sure. So we're going to go in again. I'm going to go 1, 2. See, this one's a little hard because it's a little one. And I'm going to turn it again and go down. And you can see I'm using the knife in a rocking motion because that's the design of the knife. And I'm keeping the bottom on the board, or the top, really. So then you have nice cuts here. And you can see that the shallot or an onion have two ends. You have like a core end and not a core end. So you want to do it on the not the core end. So the other end kind of keeps it together.
And you don't need that core for anything.
You can chop it up, but I usually take the core and kind of leave it off to the side because you don't really want to bite into that. That's when you have lots of practice. Just move this off to the side. So then you have your shallots chopped. And like I said, that works really well with an onion for an onion, so you're not sitting there and you have even pieces and you're less likely to cry. And a very sharp knife.
So when you kind of cut it really, really fast into minces, that kind of makes it.
Yeah, so
that's what makes your onion.
The more you cut an onion, the more it's gonna make you cry. Or if you take your onion and you chill it first, it should help. But you the less you cut it, the less the enzymes come out of it. So that's gonna help, is making that grid. Okay, so next thing that we're gonna work on after we cut our shallots is our rosemary. We have fresh rosemary in there. You have a little bit more than you need, so you can save that. If you have dry rosemary, that's fine. Just you want to use half as much because it's a lot more potent. So we're going to take this, just strip it from the opposite side down off the stem. Because this is an herb that you don't want to eat the stem. It will taste like your Christmas tree. Unlike cilantro or parsley, you can eat the stem. It's so much great flavor from that. But this one will just overpower everything. So I'm going to take all of it off, but we're going to cut it. So this is fun for your knife skills here, is we're going to take it, we're going to bundle it up a little bit. And the reason why knives are designed for specific purposes. This is a chef knife, so it's rounded. So that has a purpose to it. So when you're rocking, you can use it as right back and forth. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep it really tight. And you don't want to be like this chopping your rosemary, because if you're doing that with your rosemary, you're not going to cut through it. So I'm going to do it a little slower. So here, so everybody can see. Let me move that away. But so here, you can see I'm using it. I'm trying to go slow here. So you're going to rock back and forth. You're going to use the knife as it's intended to. And if you dry rosemary, you can do the same, or you can put it in a blender. But if you have the kit, this will work out well. Or you're using that heel, that back of the knife to cut through it. So I'm going to turn it. I'm going to take the pile, kind of put it back together. And I'm going to go back around, till I get most of it cut. And then I'm gonna have the fun part of taking the knife. I'm just gonna run through it, but by using the heel of it. This might take, you know, some practice, which you have a good amount of rosemary there. So you got some good practice for you. And then you can use this technique for cutting a bunch of different herbs. I'm just going to slide it off the knife, turn it back around, do it again.
So you want these really, really small.
Yeah, you want them small, because if you have them larger, then you're going to get a big bite of the rosemary, which is, you know, if you like rosemary, you'll probably still find it unpleasant. It is a great winter herb. It grows very well. I haven't killed it yet. So, but you can see I'm holding my hand here. You can hold it like this, but you want to be careful that you're just using it, like just rocking back and forth, rocking back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to bring it back together there, bring it back together. I'm just going to rock it back and forth. Anybody have any questions on how they're holding their knife or using their rosemary? Okay. And that looks really good. Perfect. So I'm going to just push it off to the side here. Usually I have my little mise en place bowls. Okay. Everybody see that? Good. Perfect. And like I said, if you have a nice chef knife, it's perfect, but you just want to rock it. Remember, you're not doing this. I know a lot of people, we've had, you know, our cooking classes, and we try to get people away from cutting like that. So, you know, you want to use it like a rocking horse, I guess, or rocking chair. So next thing we're going to work on is our broccoli raw. And this looked really good when I got it in, but I just put it on there that if you want to trim it up. So I'm just going to look through it, see if there's any like things like this. I'll just pull it off. But most of it looked really awesome. Very fresh. So one thing I am going to do is kind of stack it all together. If you see any, it looked really good. But if you need to, so I'm just going to trim off the bottom a little bit. Off to the side. Okay, that's it. It's a very nice, easy green to work with, and we're going to roast it. So it's a very easy green.
It smells good too.
Yes, it's nice. We use a lot of broccolini in the Clubhouse, which is almost the same thing, but it has a thicker stalk to it. So it tastes more like a broccoli than it does broccolini or broccoli rabe. So this one, like I said, has a little bit more bitter taste to it. So next thing we're going to do is take our fingerling potatoes. Our last knife skill is going to take our fingerling potatoes, and we are going to cut them in half. So we're not going to cut them in half this way, because I like to call it the hamburger. We're going to cut them in half lengthwise. Okay.
What do you call that one?
Hot dog. Hot dog. The kids get it. So what I'm going to do, and like I said, how we're using our knife is I'm going in and coming out with it. So
why do you prefer doing it that way instead of?
I feel like you have more control if you go in and then pull it out, because it's you just have more control, and as opposed to you could get the slip and go down or hit your thumb. So if you put the knife, then it's a little easier. You have more control.
So while you're cutting them, I do want to ask, you do these monthly or quarterly cooking classes, and you are in your home, you do have company, obviously, with me. But do you prefer to work alone, or do you prefer to work with a team?
At home or
alone? Do you prefer to work alone in a cooking class, or do you prefer to have a team as a cooking class?
For a cooking class, For a cooking class, well, I think it would get a little crammed in here with more of us cooking. And usually at home when I'm cooking, Carol, I'm cooking just me in the kitchen. I cook, he does the dishes. So. And but at work, I love the team that we have at the Peninsula. So they, even when we did the cooking classes in the back kitchen, they were just so much fun. And I had Chuck Van Hees with me, and I think that they weren't virtual, and they were still great. We had a lot of fun doing them. So,
and we always have a bottle of wine handy. Absolutely, that is very, very true. One of the comments was too that men should do dishes, but we won't go there. We won't go there.
So
it sounds like there's a lot of people here.
Stop making me blush. So after we have all of our knife skills worked out, and we have our shallots cut, we have our rosemary, we have our fingerling potatoes all done, what we're gonna do is, actually, I'm gonna move this over to the side, and I'm gonna take this bowl and I'm gonna mix the potatoes. Here, I'm gonna take some of the rosemary.
It's only partial.
Yeah, only partial. Maybe it might be better with your fingers to take a good pinch. So maybe a teaspoon of it. I'm gonna take the extra virgin olive oil, or if you just have regular olive oil, that works as well. Pour about a tablespoon of that in there. I'm a chef, so I love to have my salt in a container that I can feel. I also use kosher salt. I feel like I get a better ratio of how I want to season. So I did one pinch and then maybe another little one. But if you have a shaker, you can just do it a couple of times. You want to make sure you have enough salt on the potato because they love it. Then I'm going to take my pepper. I'm just going to grind some fresh black pepper in there.
Carolyn, can you suggest where to buy proper knives?
Yeah, so I love in Greenwood, there's a Wiley Knives, and that's where I get mine sharpened. And also he has the best deals. It's about 45 minutes away if you're traveling over to the Bay Bridge, but it's in the bottom of his house, and next to he has a barn, but he has the best knives. A lot of the hunters go there and get their little knives or their boning knives and stuff. But you want a great kitchen knife, he's going to give you the best deal. He's going to have Shuns, Max, all the good stuff that you can think of, he'll have there. And then he can sharpen whatever you have. So I love that. But if you want to stay local to the area, I know Kitchen and Company always has a great selection there. But I like the support, even though Greenwood, I don't know if it's too local, but I think that he does a great job, and always a great conversation when you go there. So next, I'm going to take my seasoned potatoes, and I'm just going to mix them up. I like to do it in a bowl. You could do it right on the sheet pan if you really want to, but this way it ensures your seasoning is on everything equally. The smell of extra virgin olive oil is so good. Okay, so I'm going to lay these down with the seasoning, and I'm just going to lay them skin side down. It's going to help put a nice sear on it. And then also put a nice sear, and then we will toss them throughout, but this will make the cut side of it nice and golden.
Does it cook differently if you have it?
No, it's not really. Just I like to have, as if I did it in a pan, have a nice golden brown edge on the cut side. I think it really makes a difference. So those are our potatoes, and we are going to use almost the same technique here. So that's why I have the big bowl. And we're going to cross utilize that same bowl and that same pan, because these will cook around the same time. I'm going to take my broccolini. or
So
my
you don't have to
broccoli rabe.
chop them up at all. You just throw them right in.
Nope. If you want to chop them up, then I would suggest sauteing them. But because we are roasting them, we want to keep them whole. Because if we chopped them up, then they would kind of wilt into nothing. So again, I'm going to put about 1 tablespoon. Nice and sure get everything. If you wanted to use tongs, you can use tongs to mix everything up. I think I'm just so used to using my hands for everything. So I'm going to put some salt. This loves a lot of salt too. So I put about a good pinch. I'm going to put pepper. Nice and seasoned. And then I'm going to take about half of my shallots and do the same thing. And just mix that up really well.
Where do you get really good olive oil around here?
Harris Teeter. Giant, anyone. You just want to look at the olive oil section or the oil section. And if it's cheap, then it's probably not that good. Goes with anything, you know, if you buy something cheap, it's not going to be worth it. You know, it's not going to have that taste to it that you really want. So.
And yes, it does look like she is putting the broccoli rabe with the potatoes in one pan.
Yes, I am. So I'm putting it all together on one pan. Okay. Just, you know, less dishes for the guys to do. Okay, then I'm gonna make sure that all the shallots are in there. And the olive oil's on there. Okay, I'm gonna move that around. All on there. Okay. So those are our vegetables. They're ready to go right in the oven. They're nicely seasoned. You got the shallot, a little bit of shallot on the broccoli rabe, rosemary on the potatoes. And if you had some garlic at home and you wanted to add some garlic to that, you can always do that. Garlic and a broccoli rabe are a perfect combination. So we're just gonna put that right in the oven. I'm gonna put that on the top shelf. Now?
And how long? Sound. How long does that? You're just gonna. I'm sorry, I'm going around now. How long does that usually go in the oven for?
That is gonna go in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes, depending on your oven. Mine's at 400, so it should be done right around 20 minutes. And what we're going to do throughout the cooking process is we are going to toss it. So maybe after while we're searing the pork, we're going to just make sure that it's, you know, doing very well, and we'll toss it, especially the broccolini, and it still looks good. So, so next we're going to talk about the pork chops. Okay. You can come over here. Okay. It's okay. No, we're gonna go to the stove soon. So first thing I want to do is, whenever you have a pork and chicken, but if you're gonna sear it, I'm gonna pat it dry. I'm actually gonna move it over to my cutting board because I'm done cutting on here. And then I'm gonna wash my hands, but I'm just gonna pat it really dry. And after I took it out of the package, it had some, see, it's a wet, and we want that seasoning to really go to it. Okay.
I'm gonna wash our hands and refill their wine glass.
So after we season it, okay?
Okay.
Yes, we're gonna.
I got ahead of the game.
Done touching the pork a lot, then we're gonna wash our hands just to make sure we're safe. Okay. So what we're gonna do is salt and pepper. If you want to get crazy and want to do other seasonings to it, you can. With this recipe, I wanted to keep it very simple because we're making that delicious balsamic fig sauce on top, so we didn't have to go too crazy. But if you're making pork chops at home and you want to do, you know, just an adobo seasoning or some lemon, and depending on what your side dishes are, you can always get creative at this point once you know how to cook it. So I'm going to season it very well with salt. Pork likes salt. That's why everybody likes bacon. Okay. I'm gonna put some salt. Good pinch of salt. Pepper. Okay. And that's our simple seasoning. So let's turn on our pan. I'm going to do it to a medium-high heat for now while it starts to heat up, because we want to make sure if we do it on high right away, it might develop some hot spots. So I'm going to do it medium-high to start. Like I said, you can use a Teflon pan if you'd like. If you want to use your cast iron, that's okay. If I could make a suggestion, if you're using your cast iron, is you heat it up in the oven first, because then you will have less hot spots. But then you need to make your pan sauce on the side. But for this application, for me, I'm going to use a regular, I have a nice heavy bottomed saute pan. It's not Teflon, but it will work really well as long as it's large enough for me to fit the 2 pork chops in without overcrowding them, and then still have a good amount of room to start that pan sauce. So as that's heating up, I don't want to pour the oil in right now, because if I put the oil in now, then the oil will start to get hot with the pan. So I want the pan to be hot, and then I'm going to get the oil hot, so I don't worry about burning my oil.
So Carolyn, I always have to ask questions. But so when you were in school, going to school for cooking, what was your favorite dish to cook? Growing up and learning and doing all of it. So
well, when I was at CIA, we rotated through different cuisines. So a part of our curriculum was learning different cuisines. And the really great benefit of going to CIA was you get to eat at those different cuisines as your lunch. You didn't have a cafeteria. You went to different classrooms to eat their food. So in America's class, where you learned, some just what here in America, the different regions, what we're all known for, as one of the first days was Thanksgiving. And everybody knows how much I love Thanksgiving. So once every 3 weeks, I ate Thanksgiving. So it was the best. And you could tell what class was good or not, because that's how good their Thanksgiving was.
So anything Thanksgiving related?
Anything, I'm telling you.
Is that your favorite thing to teach? I mean, we have a lot of young students that come in, from the schools and, into the Peninsula and, learn under you. And do you enjoy, I know you enjoy teaching them just because I see you every day doing that, but, do you enjoy, what else do you enjoy about that?
I really enjoy teaching them basic techniques, because if you have, and this is what I hope a lot of people get from these cooking classes as well, if you have basic techniques, you can do anything. That's when you get creative. Like today, you're going to learn how to make a pan sauce. And you can take that knowledge and use that same technique to make any kind of pan sauce you like after this, whether it's with chicken or pork. But let me get this oil in here. This is
sorry.
This is blended oil, a blend of olive oil and canola. And you can see my pan is nice and hot. So now my oil, I put about a teaspoon to a tablespoon. Oil does expand. Let me get this on. And if you're in charge of the fire extinguisher over there. Okay. If you've joined my classes before, you know I always set something on fire. Not on fire, but the fire extinguisher. Hot. So my pan is hot. You can see smoking. You hear that? That's the sound you want to hear right there. That's when you know you got a great hot pan. It's going to sear in those juices.
I'm going to go up close so everybody can see it. What are some of the things that you're looking for before you flip it? When you put it on there, I know that, again, everybody knows that I'm not a chef, but you put that on there, and when I cook pork, I put it on, and I always tend to dry out my pork because I think that I flip it. I always just let it sit too long.
Okay, so for this recipe, we're gonna finish it in the oven. So that's gonna really help. So what we're looking for here is you want a nice, you can see that it's starting to get brown. It's not there yet. So we're gonna keep that over. And we are going to turn it a couple times. Because I don't know if you cook like thinner pork chops at home and it starts to do that bowing.
Yeah.
And that's because you want to continue to flip it so it doesn't bow out.
So I have to flip it more often.
Yeah, flip it more often. I'm going to do that. These ones should be good because they're bone in. I'm gonna open the door. Okay. So those are doing really well. But what we're doing here, and the reason why we're searing it, is you want to sear all of those juices into that pork. Or if you're making chicken or searing a steak, but you're just locking in those juices. So then when you finish it in the oven, it will be really nice and juicy. And these are really nice thick pork chops, so they're going to be juicy, but this will just make them even more juicy.
So Glenn Schuster just asked a question, and I couldn't read it in time. I'm sorry. Can you just ask that again?
I lost my hand up.
Maybe.
So I did a quick wash on my hands while that's getting nice and brown. Keep it clean. I'm going to just turn it over. See that side getting really nice.
Thermometer for checking doneness.
Yes, if you have a thermometer, that's great. But you can see on that chart there, on your cooking instructions, it will give you a good time of how long you're going to put it in the oven. These ones, I have 12-ounce pork chops because we sold all our boxes with the 10-ounce ones. So these ones will take a little bit longer, but we're going to eat ours medium.
What temperature do you suggest that they look for if they do have a thermometer?
So you want to cook your pork, if you're looking for medium, so you want to do around 130 degrees. It will carry over cook because it is a larger pork chop. It will carry over cook about 5 to 10 degrees, and that should be a really nice, perfect medium. So now, since I have a good color on both sides, you can see I have a good, nice, beautiful color on both sides. I'm going to take it, and I'm just going to put it on that bone side, get a little bit of a sear. If you have tongs, or if you don't have tongs, I should say, at your house, I really suggest making sure you have a pair of tongs. They're
If you don't right now, I guess grab the bone.
Well, they're a cooked secondhand, really. So I'm just putting a little sear on the outside of those, all the way around. Same thing. And I'm going to turn down that temp to about maybe medium now. I turn down the temperature to medium. I'm going to roll that all around. And you can see that it's creating this beautiful fond on the bottom of the pan. See that nice? That's really awesome.
Really, the trick is to keep flipping it and keep playing around with it. And most
proteins you can just leave it sit. But for pork, you want to keep those juices rolling on the inside so they don't really like to, because they like to kind of shrink up. So I'm just going to roll around, keep it moving. Okay, I'm going to keep that down, and then I'm going to grab my, you can look there, but I'm going to grab the back.
Okay.
Yeah. Not moving too far.
What are you grabbing?
Yeah, sorry. I'm going to grab the rest of my mise en place here for my sauce. So I got the chicken stock and the balsamic. I have my tray. turn this way down now. So I can take away some of that heat. How's everybody's pork chops looking? Good? They're nice and brown? Let's get some thumbs up in the comments.
Ooh, thumbs up. I like it.
Good. Thumbs up in the comments. Perfect. Awesome. So if you have a smaller rack, the smaller rack works really good. You can see there, you got them on a rack, or if you don't have a rack, like I said, perfectly fine.
And if you all are smelling what I'm smelling, it's amazing. Just saying.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that in, and as I put that in, I'm a little ahead of myself. I'm just gonna mix up my potatoes here a little bit, and then my broccoli rabe. Okay, I have my temperature down low. So that's
Hope the fire department doesn't come. At somebody else's house, not here.
It's a fine line between setting off the smoke detector here and not. So normally normally I do. Like if I'm making short ribs here at home and I'm searing off that beef, it's most likely the smoke detector is going off. That's for sure. And then the dogs go nuts. Okay, so at this time, we got the pork chops in the oven. They're gonna be, since mine are a little larger, they'll probably be about 8 to 10 minutes in there. And the potatoes should be done right around the same time. So for now, I have the fond in the bottom of the pan, and we're gonna make our pan sauce. But we have a little bit. So Carol, do you have some fun questions?
Yep, because why do you call that a fond?
Oh.
So it's a Carol question, guys. Sorry.
So that is called a fond in the bottom of the pan, and that's the reason why you sear the beef. And when you make that pan sauce, is that's like the outside, the proteins that are on that bottom of the pan. So when we add in the rest of our ingredients, we're gonna scrape that off, and it's gonna give your sauce more of a pork flavor, or if it's a chicken flavor. So you're gonna just get all that off and incorporate even more flavor into your sauce. I'm gonna turn that down low so I have to stop yelling. But it's a culinary term. So I don't know. Does anybody else know another term for fond?
No, I didn't know it was called fond.
Yeah, it's called fond. Or drippings, yeah.
The pork chops did go in the same oven at
Same time.
same temp.
Yeah, they're in the same oven, same temperature, with the potatoes and the broccolini, or the broccoli rabe, sorry, or otherwise known as rapini. Any name you can use, it. So
while we're waiting too, I noticed there's a lot of red in your kitchen. What do you have going on? Is there a trend or some flowers and?
No, thanks, Carol. I decorated for Valentine's Day. So, yeah, I like red, and it matches one of my paintings here in my kitchen. But for Valentine's Day, I put out, my towels with the dog and the hearts, and, just getting, a little bit of the holiday spirit. And I love flowers, so I always have fresh flowers in my kitchen and in my living room, along with plants. I love to have houseplants too, so I feel like it brightens up the air and the space itself.
So if the broccolini in the oven is soft and tender, do you suggest them taking it out right now, or do you think they should just leave it in with the potatoes?
You can leave it in with the potatoes, and you want to make sure that you're keeping the oven shut as much as you can, because we want to get a nice roasty, the broccoli rabe roasted really well. So that's you know, you can keep it in there. If you want to take it out, if you don't like it roasted as much, you can certainly do that. But I'm looking for a nice char or roast on that to kind of balance off with the sweet and the tangy and the roasted and then the rosemary. It should be a nice combination of all those.
What's the difference between baking and roasting?
Oh, that's a great question. The difference between baking and roasting. Roasting, I think more pertains to like a meat maybe, and then I think it's really almost the same as opposed to baking. Yeah, and opposed to like maybe baking a cake.
Mm-hmm.
But then roasting, it's the same technique of putting in the oven, rubbing it with oil, or any kind of fat to it would be roasting. And then baking could refer to as baking a cake, baking cookies. So it would be the preparation of, you know, having oil, searing, roasting of a meat as opposed to baking of pastries.
And what's the significance with your apron?
Sorry. My apron. Oh, well, actually, thank you again, Donna. So my apron I got as a gift from Carol for Christmas. I love pineapples, and it's an international sign of hospitality, and that's one of the things I truly believe in is hospitality. So it's always been the thing for me. I collect little pineapples here and there, and I have my pineapple salt and pepper shakers or my pineapple tray, but hospitality really means a lot to me. So I think I adapted the pineapples throughout that because it was perfect.
I think I'm crazy at buying you every single holiday or birthday. There's a pineapple theme.
So let's start that pan sauce. And like I said, this is a technique that you can use. Once you learn it, you'll be able to use it with whatever you do. So I'm going to grab my cutting board real fast here. Myself, I feel like it's just easier to bring the cutting board over for camera purposes. TV magic. I'm putting my pan back on to get a little warm again.
What's up?
It's going to be about a low temperature because I don't want to cook the onions. I just want to slowly sweat the onion or the shallot. I'm sorry.
Sweating it. So again, another stupid Carol question. Sweating it is.
So sweating it is just really lightly cooking it so that it becomes translucent. And you're jumping ahead.
I'm sorry. I told you.
Yeah.
It's
So
the
pan
wine.
is getting a little bit warmer.
It's always the wine.
Yes. And this is why I use a regular pan or a Teflon pan as opposed to a cast iron. Only because I don't like to make so much sauces into my cast iron because I don't really wash it. I just kind of burn it out and just clean it out with salt. So I like to keep most of the acids out of it because cast iron's like a sponge, and then this will be perfect. But if you're using your cast iron, I grab a little saute pan, and you can do that same thing here, and just in a smaller pan. You're just not going to have the pork fond on the bottom. So that is getting warm. So I'm going to put my shallots in. All the rest of my shallots.
What wine are we drinking? Hold on. There's a little bit of everything, said Bob Beese. We have some decoy rosé. This is hard to do, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Decoy, sparkling.
Coming soon to the Peninsula.
Coming soon to the Peninsula.
We have some duck horn. We have some great Pinot Noir that was given to us as well.
Yes, that is going to be our pairing with the pork later. Is a really beautiful Pinot Noir that we got from the Pieces last week. Can you grab that one? The Pinot Noir. It's on my shelf.
It's on her shelf.
Top shelf.
The top shelf, the Pinot Noir.
2016.
It's the one that 2016. Yep. Sorry, we do have a little help here. Is that it?
Is it?
So we have a beautiful, this will be our pairing with the pork tonight. Pinot Noir and pork, so thank you. This is a perfect timing. But this is what we're gonna do with the pork this evening. And it is a Russian River Valley estate grown. We do appreciate you, the pieces, for the wine and the really kind note, so.
And
And
people that are low in sugar or keto diet, great choice.
keto
We have
diet,
a good life vine,
zero sugar,
0 sugar. It's a Cabernet,
4.5 carbs.
4.5 carbs. Thank you.
0 fat, and 126 calories per serving.
Which is good with pork as well.
Ooh.
And it's delicious.
We're all on a diet here, so this is exciting. You know, everybody in the first. Okay, so I have my onions here, or my shallots, I'm sorry, and they're sweating down. They're cooking. They're becoming translucent.
Cindy Byer, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, about the wine.
Oh, okay. And then I'm gonna put some rosemary. I'm gonna do about another pinch, so about a teaspoon in there. I have some extra. I'll put some rosemary in there. Rosemary and fig, great combination. And you'll mostly probably have used figs before in desserts, or you'll see them on cheese plates, or jam on cheese plates. But for this one, we wanted to bring it into a savory kind of application. So we're gonna set this, and you'll begin to smell that. It's like cooking bacons and onions, but rosemary and shallots. It's so great. And they're just nicely sweating away. We're gonna check on those potatoes, the broccoli around. Okay, they're still looking good, almost ready to turn. Take out. And we got those cooking. Remember, I'm on a low heat. And turn it up a little bit more because I'm gonna start deglassing that pan. So in between a low and a medium heat now. And I still have electric, yep.
What are we pouring in now?
I'm pouring in the chicken stock now. It's gonna help the sauce. From this point, I'm gonna start to scrape that pan. Make sure I get all the little drippings off the bottom of the pan.
So the pork's been in for about 12 minutes now. Is that okay still?
The pork has been in for 12 minutes already? Yeah, that should be okay. I think I'm the slow one. Yeah, you're right.
We have a little bit of a thicker one, so I think that's
Yeah.
why we were.
Okay. So your pork chop will probably be about medium rare right now. So if you want to pull it out, if you like a pork chop, you can pull it out and it should carry over cooked to a medium. Or if you like it more of a medium well, you can leave it in there for a little bit longer. So we have our sauce going. I'm going to turn that heat up now because we want to reduce this. I'm going to throw in the balsamic. You can put all of it in or just some of it in. If you like it more tangy.
If they didn't pour all of it in.
If you like it less tangy, you don't have to put all of it in. If you'd like a little bit more tang, you can put all of it in. I'll leave that one up to you. I like it a little tang with sweet, should be nice. So now I'm gonna take this fig jam, get all of that out. And that heat will start to go up. Start to melt that.
So another silly Carol question is, can you tell us a little bit more about fig jam?
Fig jam? Well, this one is they take the fresh figs and then they have it cooked with some sugar, skin on and everything, and then you cook it with some sugar, some pectin, so it makes like that jam consistency.
Put the fig jam in. Yes, now.
Yes, put the fig jam in. Yep. So we have all the ingredients for the sauce in there except the butter. And you don't have to use the butter if you don't like, but I'm gonna use the butter for this. Okay.
How much butter are you going to use?
I'm gonna use a good tablespoon. It's about a pat and a half if you have the stick. I did so about a tablespoon. Or a tablespoon and a half. You can see that starting to bubble away. It's starting to reduce. I want to incorporate that all. Stir it.
What are you looking for when you stir it? So
I'm
if there's,
just looking, so make sure it doesn't stick. It shouldn't, but I'm just making sure it won't stick. If you have a Teflon pan, you shouldn't have to worry about it. But I also don't want to burn it, so I'm just trying to, making sure it's okay. Okay, and so now I'm gonna just keep letting that reduce a little bit. You'll see it's gonna start thickening up on you. So maybe cook it for about 3 to 5 minutes. See, and I turned it up. I'm a little bit above medium heat. Okay, that's nice. You don't want it to be too thick, but really nice. So at this point, I'm gonna pull that off to the side, let that cool down a little bit, and I'm gonna take out my pork chops. Okay.
woo,
Pork chops. And after I take them out, move this over to the side. After I take them out, I want those juices to continue to run. So I'm just gonna flip it right over. I'm gonna check this. And all those perfect timing. Look at that. You got a nice roast on there. So it's gonna be nice and caramely, crunchy. Your potatoes should be nice and soft to the touch. Oh, awesome. Turn off that heat. Put this off to the side. Run out of room in my little kitchen. Okay. And now I'm gonna do what the French call monter en beurre, or mount with butter. So I'm going to put the butter in. And if you keep it up a little bit more, and I'm just gonna slowly.
and that doesn't have to be on a temperature or anything. You just
Nope.
cook it.
So I'm gonna take that little part out. So it's about one tablespoon, and I'm just gonna slowly stir this in. If you have it on the heat, it will actually break. So if you're making a beurre blanc at home, or finishing any sauce with butter, you want to take it off the heat so it slowly just melts into it. And you can see I'm stirring the handle. I'm moving the pot, I'm moving the spoon, I'm whisking it in. If you have a little whisk, that works too. But that's gonna even make the sauce a little bit thicker. Give it a nice shine, give it a nice glaze. Can you grab down the big bowls on the side? Okay. Yeah,
That's up.
not the funky orange one.
Why?
Okay. And then Carol, I'm gonna move over to that
Okay.
side to plate.
I'm
Okay.
follow
so
you, girl.
let me just show everybody a last shot of that sauce. Everybody see that? You could finish that sauce with some parsley if you like, but that's our finished sauce. That's a pan sauce. That's how you make it. Okay, so now let's plate. Awesome. If you want to slice the pork, you are more than welcome to slice the pork. For this preparation, we're not going to slice the pork. Carol, you get to slice your own pork.
That's good.
Okay.
Well, somebody else will slice it for me.
Okay, so gonna design our plates really pretty. Some potato. Get really creative with this if you'd like. Put the potatoes on one side. Everything smells so great. Is everybody at this point right now? Are you hungry yet?
I think so. Everybody's kind of quiet right now.
Perfect. Awesome. Everybody's plating. So we got our nice roasted broccolini. Put that off to the side. You ever have fried, if you've ever had fried bok choy, it's almost the same thing. It has like that nice crispy, but you still get the flavor. It's so great. So then I'm gonna put my pork chops right on. I gotta have the wing up, sorry. The wing up,
Why do you have the wing up?
or the bone up. It
Oh,
makes it look nicer,
pretty,
doesn't it?
pretty, yes. Sorry.
Makes it look nicer. Okay. I'm gonna take my spoon. My plating spoon. And my plating spoon. Okay, and then we're just gonna put that sauce right over top.
I definitely need somebody to put that for me. Oh, that looks delicious.
Okay, and now you're ready? Okay.
Oh, look who's here.
Okay. Bon appetit.
When they say there's good food, I'm always gonna be there.
But where there's good food, there is good what?
Good wine, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
So we've talked about the amazing job that Carolyn does with food. It's only fair to bring a little bit of life to Life Vine, the wine that we're drinking tonight. It's a company out of California and Oregon. It's a conglomerate of people that make wine for people that are thinking about reducing their intake of sugar. This wine is made with 0 sugar. Life Vine is one of the first wines that actually has the serving facts on the label in the back that will tell you how many calories, and it will tell you how many sugar and everything else. So this is an organic wine that comes from California. We're drinking tonight the Cabernet. They also have available Pinot Noir, and they also have Chardonnay as well for the white wine lovers. I think Cabernet tonight, Pinot Noir would have been a little bit better.
But we have Pinot Noir.
But we have Pinot Noir. We also have Pinot Noir. But I think the Cabernet is gonna stand up to this beautiful pork chop that I don't know how I got so lucky to be here tonight and enjoy this. But yes, once again, talking about the wine, it's the great alternative nowadays that, you know, you want to start a new year being healthy. You want to start a new year drinking wine still. Don't stop drinking wine. But there are alternatives, and this is a great company that I stand behind. I think the Peninsula right now, you're going to have the Rascal Pinot Noir, which is part of this company. It's all made ecologically designed, and they work really well with nature, trying to create a great ecosystem with growing wine. And
Oh, Carolyn's grabbing it. She did all the work. She should enjoy
I
it.
want to try it.
Oh, absolutely. It is a great wine, and it's gonna hopefully be soon, whether it's at the Peninsula, but it's gonna be at local liquor stores as well. So please look it up and
Contact.
contact Carol, because Carol is the one that makes the magic happens. We have Carolyn that makes the kitchen magic happens, but we also have Carol that is the wine side of the business. And I wanted to also introduce to a lot of people to Decoy Brut. This is something that is one of the newer decoy duck-horn products. And I figured since I was invited tonight to this beautiful dinner, what better way to celebrate such an amazing dish than popping a little bit of bubbles and saying, even though a little late, but Happy New Year.
Happy New
everybody.
Year.
Cheers.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And I hope everybody enjoys their dish. And if you could, send us some feedback. We have a couple more planned. We have the seared salmon next. That's going to be with roasted broccoli and some rice for a little bit more healthy. And then we have the cheesy and black bean chicken enchiladas. So if you want to send us your feedback, sign up for those classes and send us a picture of your dish if you haven't dug in already, because we want to see what everybody else came up with.
We'll post it on Facebook Live.
And then we will post it on Facebook so everybody can see. Thank you so much again for joining us and all your continued support. Bon appetit.
Thank you. Woo, you know everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Wonderful.